Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening and welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, broadcasting live every Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m. Central from Panama City Beach, Florida, home of the world's most beautiful beaches. I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for joining me on my weekly broadcast. Every week, I'll feature some of the best instructors, coaches, authors, and entrepreneurs in the golf business today. I begin with a great discussion on Coach's Corner, followed by an insightful interview with my special guest. So let's get started by introducing tonight's Coach's Corner panel. All right, good evening, everybody, and once again, welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and we've got a great show for you this evening. A couple of quick notes. Some of you that follow the show on a regular basis probably noticed a little bit of a change in the look to Golf Talk Live. I've done some updating, some house cleaning, if you will, and had a designer come in and rebrand Golf Talk Live. So there's a new look. Still in the process of changing everything over, but getting it out there anyways. And also on the Women of Golf, which I host with my good friend, LPGA professional Cindy Miller on Tuesdays, the Women of Golf show also got a fresh update in preparation for the 2021 season, but we launched them a little bit early. So I hope you like the new look. I've had some good feedback so far, and I'm really excited about it. And some other changes coming along the way as well I think you're going to like. So, but on that note, I want to welcome everybody to the show live, and really, really excited that you could join me. I'll introduce the Coach's Corner panel here in just a minute. And then a little bit later on, I'm going to be joined by two very special guests, Jill Strite, who is a LPGA member and also owner of Versatile Golf. And she's going to be joined by Jazmine Hall, who is the development director of Elevate Phoenix. And we're going to talk about that specifically when they come on. They've got something special happening at the beginning of next week, and they're going to come on and talk about that and a little bit more. So, but let me remind everybody, of course, the show is sponsored by iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips Magazine. iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing top-quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And, of course, Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, offering insightful reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top PGA and LPGA teacher professionals, all designed to help improve your game from tee to green. So subscribe today at golftipsmag.com. And just a quick side note before I introduce the guys, the latest issue, the holiday issue, if you will, which includes the holiday gift guide, is going to be hitting newsstands November 10th. So keep your eye out there. It'll be at, of course, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and many other key retail locations across the country and up in Canada. So make sure that you check that. But if you want to save some time, you can go on to golftipsmag.com and subscribe, and you can get a whole season of magazines, all 6 issues for the 21 season. It's a great opportunity. And also, one final note is, in addition to print versions, also you can get a digital-only version of the magazine as well. So previously you had the printed version, or you could get a print and digital. You weren't previously able to get the digital-only version. It is now available. So if you go and subscribe, you can, and just want the digital version, you can do that as well. So go to golftipsmag.com. All right, the guys joining me tonight are John Hughes. He's a PGA Master Professional and the honorary president of the North Florida PGA section. He was also a recipient of the 2013 PGA of America Horton Smith Award. He's also a senior editor and Golf Tips Magazine Top 25 instructor. And he is also part of the Golf Tips advisory staff. So welcoming him to the show. And also another good buddy is Clint Wright. He's a 30-year member of the PGA and also a partner at TGM Golf and a big proponent of the R3 approach. And among the best covering the short game today. And he, too, in addition to John and many others, is one of my favorite guests, panelists here on Coach's Corner. So, guys, welcome to Coach's Corner here on Golf Talk Live.
Glad to be here, Ted.
Thanks, Ted.
All right. So I thought we would talk about something a little bit different that we haven't talked about here before on the show. And this was an article that I read that was actually put out by Bobby Clampett. And it's entitled, Is Confusion the Leading Cause of Golfers quitting the game. And, we know there's a lot of golfers coming in each season. This season is no different, especially this season. And we've explained in the past why there are a lot of new golfers. But there are some golfers that are getting out. And what was interesting about this article, guys, and I'm going to pull out some points that were in it, and then we'll have our discussion. There were a lot of valid points that he raised in it that I thought, maybe bared some other opinions, some different approach to it. So if it's all right, I'm going to start in the order I introduced you. So, John, I'm going to start with the first point here, and it involves the idea that style-based teaching is still the most common approach to improving a golfer's game, and obviously doesn't work very well for most golfers, in his opinion. Style-based instruction centers around a certain look. So these teachers quite often ask golfers to set up the ball this way, get into the backswing positions that way, and make this move on the downswing, and so on and so forth. So it's sort of a very unique style, if you will. I want to get your thoughts, John, start with, and then Clint, obviously, if you want to add to it as well, I would appreciate it. But John, what's your thoughts on what they're referring to style-based? And we hear that, Ledbetter, we've heard others that kind of have a style-based teaching, and many others follow that as well. What are your thoughts there? Do you agree with that, what Bobby's saying here in this article? And if so, why? And if not, why?
First off, Ted, thanks for allowing me the opportunity to be on the show again. Always fun to do that. Clint, good to hear your voice. Glad you're safe with everything going on in your part of the country. Style, that's a really neat term that I use with clients, and I have them understand that I'm there to help them without sacrificing too much of their style, and I'll get into that in a second. Bobby's a fellow master professional of instruction, as I am. I've got a lot of respect for him. We've had a couple of conversations here and there over the years, and as everybody knows, he's really big on impact. He's more science-based is the way I'm going to say it, and his mentors, dating back to his childhood, really pushed a lot of that, even before there was technology to prove that was the science. What he's basically saying there is, whether it's David Ledbetter, who's a good friend of mine, or anybody else that has a particular style, I would go a little bit different, in my opinion. I think we've become not only style-based, Clint's got a style, I got a style, you got a style. I think what a lot of people have done as teachers, instructors, they've forgotten about getting the person out of the golf course and teaching them on the golf course, where they can develop the player's style and they can adapt their coaching methods to the player's style, trying to keep some very simple things in line. How do you set up, and how are you going to set up to be most efficient to hit the really good shots you're capable of doing? And if you're doing that, then great. Let's use your skills to your advantage. I had a lady here earlier in the week who had an extra long swing a la John Daly. She looked at me and says, every time someone tries to tell me to fix that, to change that, to shorten that, everything falls apart on me. And I looked at her and told her point blank, hey, I'm never ever going to tell you to shorten it. What I am going to have you do, again, science-based mostly, if you want to use that term, is let's get you set up the best way you can to hit the ball better with your current swing, and immediately your eyes will get up. The second thing I told her is let's not concentrate on your backswing at all. You're so consumed with it, which leads to the word confusion that Bobby's got in that article. Let's worry more about, and worry's the wrong word, let's concentrate and focus more on what the face of the golf club's doing with the golf ball at the moment they touch each other. It turns out she had a severe balance issue. We fix the balance issue. We take a videotape 2 days later, and she goes, you know what? My swing's shorter. I noticed that. It's not appreciably shorter, but it's noticeably shorter. But the bigger thing was I stayed within her style and let her make that swing while trying to remain balanced doing it. And it was eye-opening to her. She gained yardage immediately. She gained accuracy immediately. So when I talk about style, I want to coach within the client's style. What Bobby's talking about, I don't necessarily disagree with. There's a lot of people out there that are trying to force feed certain looks, certain ways that may not be relative to that particular person, whether physically fit or not to do it, whether rationally understanding to do it or not. You play your style. Find a coach that allows you to play your style. Don't find a stylistic coach is the way I'd say it. I would tend to agree with Bobby a bit there because we have gone overboard towards that realm, and we've got to get back to teaching players how to play, not necessarily how to hit a ball.
Right, I agree with that. And Clint, I think, as John said, I think, we all have our own style. We're all uniquely different. And if you look at some, top players over the years, Dustin Johnson, a Jim Furyk, and a Bubba Watson, they have their own unique style. They're all different. John Daly, as he mentioned as well. What are your thoughts, as pertaining to what Bobby Clampett's saying here as far as style based? Do you agree, with what John's saying, essentially that, golf instruction, not everywhere, but in some cases has sort of, I guess to go in the right term is we've kind of put a lot of people into sort of one box or one dimension of how they should be hitting and how they should be doing it, instead of doing, as he also suggested, that we need to get them out on the golf course and teaching them more how to play and not emphasizing so much on creating a style or whatever that's maybe not conducive to their body shape or what have you. What are your thoughts there?
Well, I can't argue with anything John said. I mean, it's all about playing the game versus hitting the golf ball somewhat. But I do believe that there are certain laws and fundamentals that all of those players you just described kind of get to the same place.
Right.
They got the club on path. They've got the club face getting square to the ball at impact. We always used to talk about all those players look different until you look at it from waist high to waist high.
Mm-hmm.
They all look very similar in that range of waist high to waist high and an impact area. They look very similar, but they all get there in a different way. We can all end up at the same hotel or same restaurant, but we don't always have to all go down the same road.
Right.
So that's where I think you get the confusion between style and playability. That I lean more as John and you do. I like the playability aspect, but in order for a person to play at whatever level they're going to play at, they have to adhere to a few fundamentals and laws about how to get the club on the ball. And as long as those things don't override allowing the player to develop with their own style, then I think we're in good shape. But the point that there's certain fundamental positions and ways of getting it back begin to interfere with the student developing their own style, it is a negative, without a doubt. And I think that's why you get people say, "Well, I just can't get there," and they don't want to play anymore. I'm working with this person. The coaches tell them I got to get here or I can't play, and when I can't get there, then I feel like I've failed and I shouldn't be playing the game. But on the other hand, if we tell them these are the fundamentals, as we can get as close to them as we can with your style, then we're going to have a player that's going to play golf for a long time.
Right. And again, because body types are so uniquely different, I'm a very tall individual, somebody that's a little bit shorter.
Sure.
Their swing may appear, to be flatter. Their plane may be flatter looking than what mine is. But again, it's just the way that we address balls may be slightly different from one another. And I agree, I think, with what both of you said. I think there are certain fundamentals or certain truths, if you will, that we have to adhere to in golf. That sort of waist, high and down, that's consistent with all players. And again, as you both have pointed out, how we get there is a different story. And unfortunately, I think some in the industry and, some that have sort of led the charge over the years have come up with what they felt was a unique style, and nothing wrong with that, but it may not necessarily be something that we could blanket to everybody out in the golf industry or out in the the amateur world. And as the players, as I mentioned, as you both pointed out, they're uniquely different. They certainly arrive at impact the same way, but how they get there is definitely uniquely different. And I think that we have to spend more time in teaching them how to play. Certainly they need to learn how to hit the ball correctly and make some solid contact. Otherwise, they're not going to do well, period. But I think once we've established that and got them to understand how to swing the club properly and so on and so forth, let's get them out in the golf course and let's teach them now how to score and how to put all those components together. Clint, I'm going to come back to you so we can start on the second point here, and then John, I'll let you make some comments as well. So the second reason that he talks about here is golfers are more confused today than they've ever been in the climate of today's golf instructional world. We live, and we've talked about this before, we live in a new age, the digital age, and golfers are being bombarded by countless forms of media suggesting how to improve their games. These tips have a very wide range of theories and suggestions, as we just talked about, most of which can be conflicting. So just some examples, sometimes we hear, well, set up with your weight on the left foot. No on the right foot, somebody else might say. No in the middle. And have a short, compact swing. No, get a big shoulder turn for more distance. So we hear a lot of different vernacular, finish high, no, finish low and left. And so, you kind of get the picture. This is something else, too, and it kind of goes to what we just talked about. But this is another area that really confuses people because there's so much information that they're being bombarded with, and it is hard, I would think, as a golf instructor, and we've all been there, to really – we run into two scenarios. We're either spending half of our time debunking something they've seen on YouTube or some other platform and not getting to what we need to do, or we're adding more to the confusion to what they've already witnessed somewhere else. So how do we sort of unpack this, and how do we sort of guide our students in such a way that we can certainly answer questions if they have them about something else they might have seen, but not get lost up into a forever-ending dialogue on the lesson tee about something else that really has nothing to do with their game. Clint?
That's a tough question. I mean, because there's, we're all victim of it. Go on YouTube and you look at this video and that video, and these guys is doing all the technology stuff to explain to you what's the difference between this player and that player. I mean, there's so much available, as you said. Contrary to when we first got started, I mean, you found your local golf pro that people thought that was the best teacher in your area, and you went and you learned how to play. It's difficult to debunk what they're coming with. I mean, unless you point blank ask them what videos have you been watching on YouTube, to where you maybe can go watch them and try to figure out what they're trying to do. You just have to take what they bring with them and try to work with that, or quietly work them out of it.
Yeah.
And you almost have to, I don't want to say you want to sneak up on them if it's not working, but you really have to try to understand what they're trying. It's obvious if you get a chance to see them, on the lesson tee. And then ask them questions. I mean, have you been watching any videos? What are you hearing them say? Because what they hear them say may not necessarily be what they're trying to tell them. As we well know, that it's sometimes a good idea to ask your students, what did I just tell you, to make sure you're communicating properly. But so I just think it's a matter you have to investigate a little bit. If they're getting a lot of information offline and trying to put that into the game themselves, if it's good information, then you can help them get there. If it's not really good for that particular type of person, I think you have to try to then prove to them that what they're saying doesn't fit you. What they're saying is fine, nothing wrong with it, but it just may not fit your ability, your size, and the things that you're trying to do. And then you have to bring something new to them that fits them versus just this random bit of information they pulled off the internet.
Yeah, that's a great point, Clint. And John, I want to, bring you in on this as well. I think there is certainly a lot of good stuff. We all have social media presence, most of us, and some are have videos up on websites and so on and so forth. And there is a lot of good information out there. And in all fairness to some of the points that I made, golf instruction is an ever-evolving beast, if you will. There's always new theories coming out. There's always new ways to improve and to learn a little faster and more efficiently. And technology certainly has helped to play that role in moving the ball forward, literally, in many capacities. But we're also seeing, and I don't want to get in and point fingers anywhere, but because I think we'll probably understand some of the references here. But there's now gotten to the point where it's not just instruction on teaching the game, but now it's talking about, well, the industry has led you down this way for 25 years, and I'm going to show you how you really need to do it. So there's a lot of almost, in my opinion, a negative dialogue. Instead of saying, hey, I've found this to be successful and so on, it's almost combative within itself. There's a danger of that too. Would you agree, John, that we've got to be careful that we're not going down a path where because it is so highly competitive online, that we're now kind of in a roundabout way debunking our own industry? What are your thoughts there?
Well, and I would say I'm in agreement with Bobby with this and the points you just made, and that's why I am in agreement that at the end of the day, what Clint, you, and I do, and all the other men and women that you have on the Coach's Corner do, are things that we've stolen from our predecessors, and so on. I'm using drills that are hundreds of years old. I'm sure you guys do the same. And what the good stuff sticks around because it's based and it gets to the bottom line easier for almost anybody. With that said, what you're basically talking about is invoking emotion. We're talking about politics. You've got one side saying one thing and another side saying another, and all of a sudden, and this is a crucial time in our country's history right now, they're trying to invoke fear of what may happen. Well,
right.
That's not the way to go about your golf swing. That's not the way to go about playing golf. Golf feeds you enough negative to begin with. Why are you not thinking about some positive things? And why are you not thinking about what opportunities could happen versus what fearful thing could happen? I think that's what Bobby's trying to say there is we are getting to the point where we're trying to debunk each other because some people view, I'm going to call it the business or the marketing piece of the pie, as shrinking. And the numbers, we know better. The numbers are growing. What we should be doing is, and I'll tag along with one thing that Clint said, and I'll call it priorities. I ask everybody that I teach, what kind of information are you consuming? And what I find out 100% of the time, when someone's consuming this information, not only are they getting emotional based on the messaging that someone's providing them, they're not taking that information in any type of rational order of priority that actually is going to get them where they want to go. It's a hodgepodge of stuff. It's like quilting a blanket, and quilts are all over the face of the earth, and you can't put them together. I try to go, hey, let's find the priorities for you. And I'm never, ever going to debunk anybody. Everybody's got an opinion, and everybody's opinion could be correct for somebody. And that's the way I ran Golf Digest schools. There's no right or wrong. There's only correct for who's in front of you. With that said, with that philosophy, I beg, borrow, and steal from everybody out there, whether they're being tossed under the bus or not, because at some point I'm going to have a client who may need something like that. It's a matter of putting it in a priority system so they understand what applies to them. From a comments and everything else, I would tell the listening audience, take it all with a grain of salt. Even take what we say with a grain of salt, quite honestly. We're talking in generalities here, but we're also talking about, hey, we're trying to lead you down the right path for you, and you have to keep an open mind that way. And if you're keeping an open mind, you've got the positive, not the fear in you, and you're more receptive to actually making some improvement that way. When you're fearing things, forget it. You may as well take up tiddlywinks. For that matter, you may even fear tiddlywinks, for all I know.
And I'm sure there's some people out there that are listening are probably saying, what is tiddlywinks? But that's for another show. We'll save that.
Well, I'm dating us all. Sorry, Clint.
I know. Yeah.
It's
what? I don't know
okay.
what that is.
I was wondering what tiddlywinks were, too. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. But you're exactly right. John, I think that there's a little of something for everybody, and because we are so uniquely different, as a player too, and it's not just a matter of style based. I mean, Bobby's putting it in perspective here, but again, Clint, what it really boils down to is the ability to discern fact from fiction. When you boil it all down, golfers go to the driving range, many of them do, in search of that secret pill, if you will, that's going to make it all work. But the truth is that the secret pill that often is style-based really does not exist. The best golf teachers know that the style of the swing really doesn't matter. All that matters, Clint, as you pointed out, is in order to play good golf is the ability to be able to create good impact. And that's what the common play is, as you guys pointed out earlier. So given that, what are, in your opinion, what are some things that you've done yourself that have really helped golfers focus on that area? What is there some drills that we can do that we can be showing our students that really focus on that impact and making solid contact, and how they arrive there, whether they hop on one foot or what have you, or twirl a finger around or something, who cares? Mm-hmm. What can we do to make sure they're getting into that good impact so that at the end of the day, when they step out on the practice tee and they're warming up for the round, they're hitting the ball with confidence, and when they get to that first tee, they've got some confidence? What's a good way to get them started?
Well, you can go to the very beginning. I mean, a person has to be balanced and have a good posture set up if they're going to make any kind of body motion under control. So that would be, the thing that we all take a beginner and say, okay, let's grip it. Let's show me how you're going to grip it. Let's show you how to stand. Does it feel athletic? Can you move your body under control from there? Are you balanced? Do you feel balanced when you stand that way? And if they don't, then we find the place that they feel balanced, whether it's a little more tilted over, hip tilt, whatever that may be. And then what we try to do early on is get a person to move through that space and just simply maintain their positioning as far as their setup and posture is concerned. And that way they at least have an opportunity to move their body through the space under somewhat of control and understand that they want to return here. This is where they want to get back to. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a good setup position and ready to make an athletic move, you can't get back there because you're not going to be capable of getting back to that balanced position of impact. So I tend to try to get a person to set up on balance and try to get them to understand we want to get back here at impact. Now, how are we going to do that? We're going to move it through the space going back. Well, once you get to the top of your backswing, do you feel like you can get back to your setup position? Well, no. Well, why not? Tell me what you're feeling. And we try to correct those things. And, drills that you can use, there's hundreds of them. Mm-hmm. I think that Harvey Pinnock was quoted in saying that the reason that there's nothing new here that's been being said for such a long time is that it matters. It's good. So if it's been something that's been around for a long time, it must be a good drill to use for certain circumstances. Okay, and so we lean on the old-fashioned drills, like in putting and chipping. We want to go to the target. Where do you want to land the ball? Just keep your hands in front of the club face drills. They're out there. We've all used them. But what I try to do to work with a personal impact, just to rewind this, good setup position, and for them to understand we need to get back to that position with speed. And that's how we make contact and move the ball forward.
Yeah, and once, John, once a player truly understands how to make good contact and gets the feeling of what good contact, that's the other thing too, very quickly, just to go back to Clint's points here, is there's a lot of golfers out there that really don't know what good contact even feels like. Every once in a while we hit that pure shot and it's effortless and you almost don't even feel like you've hit the ball, and yet it sails, out to the center of the fairway and you're thinking, wow, what did I do here? But an area that I think confuses a lot of, and again goes to what Bobby's talking about here, in addition to the style, and I think majority of your instructors are good, and they understand that the great players that they do create that good impact, and they have the ability to offer clear remedies that might be built on only one or two simple thoughts. So when a golfer is limited to thinking about one or two key things, their mind is free, and ultimately so is their swing. So, and we've often heard the phrase, John, it's not paralysis by analysis. So I want you to maybe talk a little bit about that, because that's I think another thing that I often hear from students is that they've got so many thoughts going through their mind that when they step over the ball, especially early on in the round, and once they've warmed up a little bit, they loosen up. But especially at the beginning of a round, they've got so much going through their head. So we need to simplify the process so that when they're stepping up over the ball, there's maybe one or two things at most that they're thinking about. Talk about that a little bit and get your perspective on whether that's true or whether there's something else that we should be considering.
I would tend to agree with you, Ted. That's probably the number one non-physical item as a coach that I deal with I would say close to 100% of my clients at some point in time or another. It's human nature to want to learn, to absorb information and put it to use. That's what distinguishes us from all other mammals on Earth. So when you're looking at such a simple thing as putting a piece of metal on a piece of rubber per se, you would think it's pretty simple, but as you find out, it isn't as simple, possibly. And you put these thoughts in your head, again, I go back to the word priority. What's the priorities? And are those thoughts in the same order? You use the term process. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't understand that they go through processes every day. When you get up in the morning, I bet you every listener has a routine. That's a process that they follow almost religiously each and every day, unless that day just starts out sort of quirky. When you get into work, you have a process. Do you turn the light on after unlocking the door? Are you making coffee before you read your emails to catch up? I mean, there is a process that you do. So why not create a very simple process? And my philosophy is simple. When you swing, less is more. And if you can get it down to less than one thought, and I don't mean to sound trivial or facetious, that's going to be best for you. One thought's the max, but if you can get it down to less than one thought, more of a tempo-driven kind of motion, you're going to be better off that way. But as far as if you want to think, so long as you think of these things in the correct order and or the same order, you can almost think about 3 to 4, maybe even 5 things prior to swinging the golf ball as you set up. So the examples I'm always using for my clients is you remember your zip code, you remember your area code, Your area code is going to be the simplest thing to remember. Can you replace the numbers in your area code with 3 things you need to do in the same order to set up correctly, so when you turn the machine on, the machine produces the widget that you're looking for? And, oh, by the way, what is that less than one word thought, or one thought in general, turns the machine on? It should go in unison with these other 3, but it's not necessarily part of that area code. It's a completely different thing. It goes back to Vision 54, and hey, there's a backstage and a front stage. There's a thinking box and there's a doing box kind of thing. I'm paraphrasing what they've said. Less is more with that. The other thing to put out to listeners, and I've said this before on the show, is golf is an action game. We're trying to start something from an absolute dead stop. Most all other games we play are reactionary. There is no time to think. You just react, and you do the very best you can athletically to perform within that reaction. The more reactionary you can make golf with less thoughts, what thoughts are there prior to making the action in a sequential order that makes sense, now all of a sudden you're not thinking about too many things when you're stepping over the ball. You're just thinking about, hey, where's my target? We'll just let it fly.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting. I was thinking about what you said in using, you know, area code and zip code, and I was thinking to myself, you know, Clint, that you have a lot of players who are very technical driven, and they need a little bit more, you know, meat on the bone, so to speak. So for a player like that is more technically, that maybe needs, you know, an area code might not suffice for what they need, and you know, we've had these where they come out and they overanalyze and stuff, and they need that. That's just the way their mind works. So in a case like that, how do we accomplish the same thing as what John's talking about with somebody that we want to reduce their thought process with somebody that requires it a little bit more? How do we find a sort of a happy balance that they're getting what they need, the information that they need to make in a sense, an informed decision, which is really ultimately what we do before we hit a shot, is we're informing ourselves with the information to make an informed decision, decide what club we're going to hit, what direction we're going to go, and so on and so forth. When we're dealing with somebody, because we all are different, Clint, how do we, I guess, handle somebody in that scenario that does require more information, and do it in such a way that we're still keeping it as simple as possible? Is there a way that we can accomplish that?
Oh yeah. I always ask a person what they do for a living, and when they say, well, they're a mathematician and engineer, I know my work's cut out for me, because
yeah.
Well, they think in precise terms. Okay?
Sure.
So what I tend to try to do is give them that on the practice tee. We're going to do that. We're going to get this information for you, and it's just like if you were going to build a bridge, you're going to get all this information, and then I'll look as to how are you going to use this information? How is this information making you more comfortable to go out and play? Because I'm going to get you everything you need from a technical standpoint that you'll feel comfortable to go out and play without it. And you have to kind of feed them that information on the lesson tee, and then try to prove to them in their own way. They have to buy in. You have to show them that this information is how you're going to use this information is when we play. Okay, the information is, well, I hit my 8-iron 150. You know, those are things. You know, the technical aspect of choosing the right club. You know, if they're going to go out and play, check and see how hard the wind's blowing today to get it. Well, it's 10 miles an hour. Feed that part of their brain that needs that information, that settles their nerve to a point that they can play. And a lot of that comes down just to sheer emotions. You know, that their body doesn't relax if they're not focused 100% on the data. So what I try to get them to find a process that works for them to relax enough to use the data to make a good decision to hit the ball. Once they've used all this technical information that we've learned on the practice tee and all this data, that we have to find a way, and it's complicated, it's from one player to the next, find a way that they can use that data to get a little less nervous, a little bit less anxious over the ball when they hit it. Comfort with the data. I've made the right decision. See, we talk a lot about confidence versus trust.
Mm-hmm.
And see, a lot of people, we get in some debates about, well, why is it? Well, I want a person to be confident that they've made the right decision.
Right.
To what club they're going to hit, based on the data. Then trust is the emotional side. Well, I'm going to trust I can hit a good shot right now, based on the data that I use to be confident. And that's a difficult path for some people to take. But you have to try to get them to trust the data. But you find the data on the practice tee that feeds that part of their brain. And hopefully they can learn how to begin to trust the data just like they would trust the data that they had to build that bridge. And if they buy into that, then they can be great players.
Yeah, it's interesting, guys, because, we see so many, different personalities on the golf course. We see some that, it just seems very naturally, very easily. It almost looks like they're not even thinking about anything, and they're out there, navigating their way around the golf course with some success. And others, clearly they're struggling. They're, analyzing to a point where they've now paralyzed themselves. And I think really it to go back to the initial point is, have we and are we still, in a sense, confusing the golfer in such a way that we've frustrated them to a point now they're saying, whoa, I just can't do all that. So do we need to, as Clint, as you pointed out, and John, I'm posing this to you, by the way, do we need to really communicate first and foremost with our students first, analyze who they are, and then formulate a game plan, as opposed to formulating a game plan and then marketing it out to the masses? Your thoughts?
From a purist standpoint of view, it's the first. From a business standpoint of view, unfortunately, you got to do the second. I work for myself. I've got to be able to market myself and have somebody understand what those things are that differentiate me. And in theory, it becomes possibly a style or whatever label they want to put on it. But I would tell you that once I get that person in the door, it totally flips. It's all about interviewing them, so much so that nowadays, before I even take a client on, we're on the phone minimal 15 minutes just trying to figure out if I'm a good fit for them, but more importantly is what is it they're needing out of me, and do I have something that I can provide them to where they won't get confused, that I will be able to provide them coaching at their level so they don't get frustrated and say, well, screw it, I'm not going to take a lesson, and even worse, screw it, this game's crazy, I'm not going to play it. It's unfortunately both. The purest way is, and I would tell anybody listening to the show, is you've got to find a coach who is willing to ask those questions of you. So not only can you feel like you have a good relationship with them, you've got to be honest and tell that coach what is it that you want to do, and what are you limited to, what are your strengths. There's a gambit of questions that a coach needs to be able to find out how to go about putting things in a priority order that makes sense for you, to where you can sustain your results, but more importantly have fun achieving the results. Without any fun, people get confused very, very quickly. But from the marketing standpoint of view, and I hate to get into that term again, but it does come up in this conversation. There's a lot of confusion out there because of the way things are marketed.
Right.
I'm not advocating that we all go to a one-size-fits-all thing, that all we're ever going to teach is impact. That would be utopia for everybody, and it'd put us all out of business in a way, and it'd make the game too easy, and we'd get bored and we'd find something else to do. There's more than one way to get the club to the ball, as Clint said earlier in the broadcast. Understand that if you're getting to the point of hiring a golf coach, if they're not asking those questions, then that should raise a red flag for you, no matter what their marketing says.
Yeah, that's a great point. And Clint, just finally, as we get ready to wrap up another segment here, I think to John's point, we certainly have to market ourselves. We have to get the word out there. But I think something else too that I've noticed, and I want to get your thoughts. And John, I'm going to let you have an opportunity as well to chime in afterwards. But do we need, as instructors, to negate the not one size fits all for instruction per se, but as instructors? And what I mean by that is, do we have to be careful that we're not a jack of all trades? And I'll give you a perfect example. We see a lot of instructors out there that teach all facets of the game. I don't mean just the swing, but they get into so many other areas that they kind of spread themselves thin. Do we need to be more focused? As an instructor, for instance, the short game is something that you really focus on. You can certainly teach the whole game, but that's an area that you don't. Do we need, as instructors, do we need to be more definitive in what we're going to teach and not be so broad? What are your thoughts?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think it depends on where you're at in your career. If I'm a young professional that's going to teach this game for a living, I need to have as broad a base of customers as I can get. So you begin to be the jack of all trades. You teach putting, and you teach. You try to understand a little bit about all of it, but primarily, the full swing, and because that's what people come to want to learn. But you have to be able to give them the peripherals as well.
Right.
So, but as we move through our careers, and we maybe, don't need to teach as much, or you've got a good clientele, and you can move into more specific areas. I think that you find you've got mental coaches and emotional coaches that tend not to be out of a profession, but from somewhere else that gets involved in golf because people are looking for that. I find that would be a difficult place to be unless you had some formal education to move forward with it. So I tend to try to stay away from that a little bit. But if we're talking about just the pure playing of the game, I think that we all naturally gravitate to what we like to teach. And we get through the rest of it. And that's what happened with me. I found that I enjoyed teaching the scoring game more than I did the full swing, because I always thought I could see more improvement in my customer or my client or student through that, and see that they begin to enjoy the game more because their score went down. Whether it went from 125 to 100, it still went down, and they were happy with it. And so I think it's part of the career thing. But if you can, with us at TGM Golf, we on occasion will team teach. If I've got a student that needs a little help, in the long term on their full swing, I get it over to Mike or Todd, and on occasions I'll help them with one of their students. So there's nothing wrong with that approach either. To bring in someone else that might be a little bit better at the area your student needs, I think that shows your student that you're about them getting better versus being selfish and keeping them all to yourself. You see? And so I think that gives your student an idea that you're in it to help them get better. And if that gets out into the marketplace, you won't have to worry about advertising. You'll have more business than you can deal with. So.
Right. I agree wholeheartedly. And John, just to add to that, and I guess really what I'm getting at is, do we need to be the jack of all trades? In other words, do we have to be? We certainly have to be knowledgeable in all aspects of the game, from the long game to the short game to, gaining more distance and things like that. But sometimes, I think instructors maybe spread themselves too thin, getting into other areas where maybe they're not as strong. And I kind of like what Clint just pointed out there is, he's got a unique situation where he works with some other partners that are able to sort of play off one another. Is that maybe a route that instruction needs to grapple more onto, is working together instead of trying to be, as I said, the jack of all trades? What are your final thoughts?
I agree with the first statement. Clint said that early on you tend to be, because not only do you want to fill your book, you're wanting to please everybody that comes through the book, that comes through your calendar of lessons. And as you mature, you start finding your niche. And in Clint's case, short game, scoring, lots of different labels to put on it. And that is a fun part of the game, and that's where I started working harder on earlier in my career. Working as a team is absolutely essential, and you see that amongst all the top tour players now, where they're going after specialists for the various aspects of their game: nutrition, fitness, short game, full swing, who's going to drive my truck, kind of. It's
right.
Really getting that way. But when we get back to the term confusion, where it all started, this part of the program, sometimes when you've got a lot of people working with one student, if they're not communicating, that's not only going to lead to the players' confusion, it leads to the team's confusion. So in Clint's case, they're all right there amongst each other. It's going to work out. They're all going to talk to one another. And like he said, they all have the back of that player. They're all there for that player's best interest. In my case, I've got a sports psychologist I work with. I've got a fitness expert that I work with, because as much time that I have, I don't have enough time to become an expert at it. From a jack of all trades, coaching-wise, I don't have anybody that I refer anybody to at the moment. I'm working on that. But the type of clientele I'm predominantly coaching now is somebody that doesn't necessarily want to have multiple coaches. They've come to me because my expertise at the entire game over the 30-plus years I've been teaching is something that they appreciate how I communicate to them. So it can work both ways. When we're talking about confusion at the end of the day, it is about communication. You can get more done as a team. To quote Mike Krzyzewski, the fist is more powerful than the fingers. If you can put all 5 fingers together, that's a much stronger force to help somebody out with. But you've also got to be careful that if that fist isn't communicating amongst each other, then you can do more damage and literally get the person so confused that they walk away from everybody. And that's certainly not what we're after. We're after like Clint said, we're there for the best interest of the player to get them where they want to go. And if I don't know something, absolutely, I'm going to get on the phone and either find it out. If I can't find it out, I'm referring that person to somebody, but I'm also becoming part of their team at that point. And that's really the key ingredient. It's now the player's team, not your team as a coach.
Yeah, that's a great way to wrap that up and sort of tie it all up together. The truth of the matter is, it all begins with those initial conversations. First and foremost, we want the students to really seek out somebody that they're able to feel comfortable with. There's a lot of great instructors out there for sure, but they're not going to be appealing to everybody. It's just like, you go to a certain bank because you like a certain bank, and you go to a certain grocery store because you like what they stock on the shelves or the way they organize things, or the people at the checkout you've gotten to know over the years. Whatever the case may be, So, first and foremost, you need to really do a little bit of homework, research these people out, get to know them, maybe get a referral, find out, somebody that you may know that's been working with that individual, and, and see how they've, what their experience has been like, and then get out and do your own research and have a conversation with them, get together for a few moments, and whether it be on a phone call and or if you're able to in person, and have a conversation with that coach or instructor, and kind of feel them out. Make sure that you're going to be compatible. Do you have similar ways of looking at things in general? I mean, you have to be compatible that way before you start the program, because there's nothing worse than booking a group of lessons and getting with somebody that you don't have a good feeling about. So, and as John, as you pointed out early, it's all about having, from the coach's perspective, asking those questions. It's not just the student asking questions of us; it's us asking them the right questions as well, and gathering that information so that we can put together a game plan that's going to be successful for that individual there. So, guys, a great discussion tonight. I really like that, and I want to just sort of say one further thing to wrap it up. Really, the purpose of this discussion was not to be critical or anything, but it's to be mindful for those of us that are in the industry, to be mindful of how the student might feel, how they may be confused right now. We've struggled for many decades to work with students and getting those handicaps down, and some have been successful and others have not, and we want to make it as pleasurable of an experience. We know this game can be difficult for many, so we want you to be engaging, but we also have to be engaging as well. It's not just about us standing up there and telling you what to do. It's about understanding what it is, what needs you have, and how we can best meet those needs and making it a more enjoyable and fun session. Again, guys, great discussion tonight. I really appreciate you always bringing your best to the panel discussions, and I couldn't thank you enough for doing so. As always, I'm going to give you an opportunity to share with the audience if they want to reach out and connect with you. Clint, I'm going to let you start, and then John, I'll let you wrap it up.
Sure. First of all, John, great being with you tonight, and Ted, you as well. I look forward to the Thursday nights that we can do the show. It's a lot of fun most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time it's pretty much fun. Sometimes I get kicked under the bus, but that's okay. You can get a hold of me at clintgolf001@yahoo.com, and I'll return an email, and maybe we can hook up on the phone, do a little texting, see if we can help you out. But just clintgolf001@yahoo.com. Guys, y'all have a good weekend.
You too. Thanks, Clint. John?
Thanks, Ted.
Clint, I will never kick you under the bus because I'm not sure where the bus is located half the time. But thanks. always a pleasure being with you with Ted's show. Ted, again, thanks for the opportunity. It's always a pleasure. It is a lot of fun each and every time, whether I get kicked under the bus or not. People can reach me, John Hughes Golf. I tried to make it easy when I started things out, and apparently it is pretty easy. So whether it's a hashtag, an @sign, a .com at the end of it, you can always find me at johnhughesgolf.com. Twitter, Facebook, the same thing. Looking forward to a neat little holiday season. I'm hoping the next time I'm on in a couple of weeks, I'll have some news to share with everybody. And again, Clint, glad you're doing well with everything that's going on in your neck of the woods there.
Perfect. Well, guys, as always, thank you very much for, again, bringing your best onto the show. I appreciate it very much. I know it's not always easy giving of your time, but I appreciate it very much. And John, as always, thank you. And I will reach out to you real soon, and we'll continue the conversation. But have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, John. All right, that was John Hughes and Clint Wright joining me on the Coach's Corner panel. And as always, we have a lot of fun and an interesting conversation here on the show. And I really look forward to having the Coach's Corner panel each and every week as we start off on Golf Talk Live. And then, of course, I'm followed by my very special guests, and I always enjoy the interview portion as well. But it's kind of nice to get things started off with the panel discussions. All right, so let me very quick note here just to remind everybody that the latest issue of Golf Tips Magazine, which happens to be the holiday gift guide, is going to be hitting newsstands on November 10th, so keep your eye out for that. And if you want to subscribe, go to golftipsmag.com. That's golftipsmag.com. And you can now get not only the print version, you can get a print and digital version, or you can just get the digital version if you want. It's now available in a digital-only version for those of you that are a little more tech-savvy and like to get that route. So just go to golftipsmag.com. All right, as I mentioned, I got two great guests tonight. Joining me is Jill Strite, and she is an LPGA Class A member and owner of a successful golf event management company in Scottsdale, Arizona, called Versatile Golf. Strite's dynamic company has been in operation for 4 busy years, helping corporate and non-profit organizations get grass under their feet, if you will, through tournaments, fundraisers, team building, and popular helicopter golf ball drops. I got to ask her about that. Also joining tonight on the show is Jazmine Hall. She began her career at Elevate Phoenix in 2011 as a teacher and mentor. She quickly found her niche in the development and area and has been full steam ever since. And as the development director for Elevate Phoenix, she uses her passion for the organization to further develop stable, consistent relationships between staff and more than 5,000 urban students within the Phoenix Union High School district. In addition to development, Jazmine serves as an adjunct professor at the Maricopa Community Colleges. So without further ado, please welcome my very special guests, Jill Strite and Jazmine Hall. Good
Hi,
evening, ladies,
Ted.
and welcome.
Thanks for having us. How are you?
Well,
thank you.
I'm doing very well.
Good
Thank
evening.
you, ladies, very much. Yeah, good evening to both of you, and thank you very much for joining me this evening on Golf Talk Live. And we've got a lot to unpack, and we're going to get to Elevate Phoenix here in a little bit, and specifically what you guys want to talk about. But I thought what we would do first is just to, I shared a little bit, as I know you're aware, because you've been on hold here for a few moments. But I want to get a little bit more background, just so everybody has a better understanding of who and so forth. So, Jill, I'm going to start with you. I know, as I mentioned, you're a Class A LPGA Class A member, as well as owner of Versatile Golf. Talk a little bit about your background, and then, Jazmine, I'm going to give you an opportunity as well.
Sure, absolutely. And thank you again for having us tonight.
My pleasure.
So yes, I am. I am a very proud long-term LPGA member. I was born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska, played golf with my entire family, and I got the golf bug at an early age. Played through junior golf all over the central area of the country, and then I ended up getting recruited and playing on the women's golf team at the University of Southern California, which was incredible, and that's really where my love of the game, I never thought it could get even more, but I got really heavily into tournament operations with the PGA of America, with the local golf tournaments, professional events that take place in Southern California with multiple internships. So I always had that tournament love. I certainly tried to get on, mini tours, and I have such an appreciation for the ladies that are able to play full-time professional golf, and I gave it a go. But, I was very fortunate to have a local golf professional at one of the home courses we used to practice at SC who wanted to bring me in. He was one of the lead instructors for Nicholas Flick, and he took me under his wing and said, I need a female golf instructor. I've got 200 ladies in my women's club, and I'd love for you to take it over. And so that's where my passion for golf instruction came. And, I was able to work at amazing properties like Riviera Country Club, Carmel Valley Ranch, the Phoenician here in town, the Fairmont Scottsdale Princess, and work closely with TPC Scottsdale, certainly during the Phoenix Open. So I've always been around some of the best that golf has to offer. And as everything came together and I gathered all of the weapons I would need to start my own company, I was able to really pull my passion for the game, my passion for women's golf, but also, certainly use the game of golf to bring families together, as well as help nonprofits like Elevate Phoenix and I was very fortunate to be introduced to Tom Lehman through a dear friend, Tiffany Nelson, who's the executive director of the Charles Schwab Cup Championship here in Phoenix, which is coming up next week. And then by the grace of God, I got introduced to Jazmine Hall, and my life has been better for it. So I've been able to take versatile golf, everything that we're able to do to give back the game of golf, whether it's as a fundraiser, the outdoor physical exercise and family experience, or to bring team building opportunities through corporate events. I'm so fortunate to truly say I have a job, a profession, a company that I'm super proud of and that I love. Even if I'm sending emails to Jazmine at 2 a.m. in the morning, it's okay because I love what I'm doing.
Well, that's fantastic.
It's true.
And Jill, again, welcome to Golf Talk Live, and thank you for sharing that. You definitely have a passion. And I just want on a side note about the LPGA, I can tell you from experience having, on my other show, Women of Golf, working with Cindy Miller, who is an LPGA professional for the last 7 years. There is no harder working folks in the golf business than the ladies of the LPGA organization. Let me tell you, they put the guys to shame. And there's some great guys out there, but you ladies, hands down, are the hardest working in this industry, and you give back so much. Jazmine, she gave a great intro to you, so I'm going to let you pick it up from here for a few moments. Just tell us a little bit more about your background. Yeah, she just spoon-fed a great lead-in. So I didn't even have to do anything. So just tell us a little bit more about, and just let me point out, Jazmine is the development director. I forgot to mention that, I'm sorry, for Elevate Phoenix. So tell us a little bit about your background a little bit and how you got to where you are. And obviously, Jill has mentioned you guys have come together. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about that, and then we'll get into a little bit more about tonight's discussion.
Absolutely. Thanks so very much. Yeah, so Elevate Phoenix is pretty much near and dear to my heart. And, it's kind of funny because it stems a little bit further than how long we've been in business, if you will. So I very well could have been an Elevate Phoenix student when I was coming up, right? And it took somebody to step into my life, a caring adult, to come into my life and mentor me near the end of high school to really change the trajectory of my life and my outcomes. I went through some pretty hard stuff growing up, and my mentor came alongside of me, not only encouraged me to, let alone graduate from high school, but pushed me on to get my bachelor's degree, continued to push me to even get my master's degree. She was there when I bought my first house. She was a part of my wedding, and it kind of made it all quite phenomenal was that she is my boss today. And so Delilah Gamper, the executive director of Elevate Phoenix, she knew who I was, what I was about, where our heart was, and she said, Jazmine, I need you to take a look at something that is coming to the Valley, gives us a name, gives us something to call what we've been doing for free, some resources and some support around what we've been doing all of our lives. And I really just need you to take a look at this. And, at the time when she asked me, I was just not quite ready. I was in a good space, making a lot of money in the insurance industry, but I was like, all day I got you. I'll volunteer. I'll donate. What do you need? And, she's like, just wait. And maybe we got the Elevate Phoenix organization started in 2009. We were incorporated, and we had our first class start in 2010. And she was actually the first teacher mentor to actually get started in the organization. And 2 years later, she came back to me and said, hey, you know what? I know you came you didn't have a quite understanding of what you were getting into. This time I want you to just take a look and see what we're doing. So I toured our very first class over at Cesar Chavez High School, And you know what? From that moment forward, I saw what Elevate Phoenix was firsthand. I met the students, and I was sold. I literally left corporate America, came into this nonprofit world with blaze of fire, guns of going, and never looked back. And I've never been a part of anything so transformative in my entire life, and it's all due to my mentor showing me the way and still connected into my life today. So pretty much we've been doing Elevate Phoenix since before Elevate Phoenix was ever even a thing, and now we have the honor to just come alongside of all of our kids to just pour in, make a difference. And I started the second pipeline over at Camelback High School, and at that point, 4 years in to just helping our kids, you know, just find their own way, find their voice, recognize that even if they were the ones that were quote unquote being people giving up on them, we reminded them just how valuable they are. And because I saw it firsthand from ground zero, I literally said, you know what, there's something else I got to do. I have to make sure that we're not only continuing on to sustain what we're doing, but we have to grow this. We got to make a big impact in more students' lives. So I transitioned from being the teacher mentor into the development role, and in walks Jill Strite into my life. Because at first they said, Jazmine, we want you to raise all this money. I'm like, okay, I've never done this before, but I got the passion and I know relationships, so I could do this. And I was right, because I have a Jill Strite in my life to help me turn around and actually raise those dollars to continue to sustain and grow Elevate Phoenix to where we're at today.
Perfect. Before we get into some of the specifics of what the organization's overall mission is, I just want to, since he was mentioned, I want to just, bring up a little bit about Tom Lehman into the mix, if you will. For those of you tuning into the program, you know, we're talking with Jill Strite and Jazmine Hall about Elevate Phoenix, and obviously this is something that Tom Lehman has grappled on. And Tom Lehman, of course, is an American professional golfer. He was a former number one ranked golfer. His tournament wins are 35 worldwide, which includes one major title, the 1996 Open Championship. And he's one of the only golfers in history to have been awarded the Player of the Year honor on all three PGA Tours, the regular tour, web.com, and the PGA Tour champion. So he's definitely a very stellar player. And I got to say this, just in case he hears this at some later point, I've followed Tom's career. I certainly can't reflect on everything, but I got to tell you, he was, and still is, of course, one of the nicest guys I have ever seen on the PGA Tour. And there's a lot of great ones, don't get me wrong, but he just had such a wonderful demeanor about him, and the way he spoke. And, you know, I've seen him interviewed many times on the Golf Channel over the years, and he was one of the nicest guys. And what a great, in my opinion, a great ambassador of not only golf, but obviously. So let's, before we get into some of the things, let's talk about his relationship. Jazmine, I'm going to let you start, and then Jill, if you want to jump in as well. Maybe explain a little bit about Tom's relationship with Elevate Phoenix.
Absolutely. Ted, you know, you kind of hit the nail right on the head. Tom is as genuine as they come. When I talk about a leader by example, he is truly the epitome. And when I say the epitome, I mean it doesn't matter whether he is talking to other professionals, celebrities, down to the janitors at our school, and even willing to, you know, just get right in the field with our kids. He is that hands-on approach where, I mean, I know a lot of organizations who have their quote-unquote celebrity who says, you know, that's my charity and we're their charity. No, like, it is officially like, wow, he is so all in. That's all I got. Like, all I can say about Tom is, wow. So how Tom got involved with this, our owner, Bob and Phyllis Barbie, they saw this model that we replicated from the Colorado Uplift model just about 40 years ago. And, you know, Tom was already all about mentorship programs and really involved, and he always put it out there that he was looking for something a little bit more continuous, right? So he's like, he recognized that mentorship is good, and he knows that in typical mentorship is something that's usually done maybe outside of the school and, happens maybe in an hour or two once a week, if that, right? Well, Bob Barbie showed him this model that was happening already in Colorado and the success that they were having, and said, this is something that we have to do out in Arizona. And he brought Tom alongside, and Tom saw the model and was floored. He says, okay, this is it. We got something that's 365, 24/7, where we can use the platform of teaching to truly earn the right to do life with our kids, to become their mentors. And that's truly where the transformation is happening. And so he was like, okay, let's do it. I'm all in. He would meet with our kids. He would talk with them, go to lunch with them, really get to hear the stories. And soon enough, we were, usually the charity of choice for quite a few organizations as we were trying to get the ball rolling, until Tom had this great idea, a few years in, about 6 years in to be exact. And he said, we need our own event, so every dollar that we raise can go to these kids, because he not only heard the stories of impact, but he got to witness them firsthand. And that's really where he literally said, I'm all in. This will be our event. I will host it, and I will ask my networks. I will ask my people, and I'll do everything I can within my power to really push it forward, because our missions were so aligned with what we do, with who he is. And so 10 years, 5,000 kids, and a whole lot of success later, we're still at it. And that's truly the story of, how Tom's involvement started.
Yeah, and you raise a really great point, Jazmine, and that is it's all about community. It's about reaching out and helping others to realize and really get a good start in life. And I think that's really, as I understand from what I've read about Elevate Phoenix, is really what it's about. It's about, reaching out to communities, giving them the opportunities, and using, there's nothing, I think, more satisfying. We've all worked in many of us in corporate world, and we've done this, we've made money, we've done well in other areas. But nothing really resonates more than being able to do something to give back to somebody else. Nothing is more satisfying.
Right.
I mean, I don't care how big a deal you get or how much success you have in other ways. Giving back is a great thing. So Jill, just to sort of bring you back in a little bit here about your role. So obviously your experience with your business and your track record in golf as well, you obviously saw an opportunity to step up and help this organization with things like fundraising and that. So talk a little bit more about that, and then we'll actually get into sort of the meat of exactly what Elevate Phoenix does in helping these students.
Sure. And certainly building off of one thing you said about Tom being one of the nicest guys on tour, I think he's number one. And I'm not just saying that because I help with his event. But, over the years, I have dealt with people on the senior tour, the LPGA, the PGA, and when I was told that Tom Lehman was going to call me to interview me about managing the first annual Elevate Phoenix Invitational. I mean, I've been watching Tom as a fan of golf since I was 7 years old. I've followed him, on the other side of the ropes in multiple golf tournaments. So, for me being, a very happy golf nerd, to know I was getting a call from somebody of Tom's status, to say that my palms were sweating was an understatement. But I got even a little more frazzled when he called and he said, very short and sweet, I'm told that if anybody can do it, it's you, and here's what I want. I need to raise $250,000 in my first golf tournament, and by the way, you have 4 months to plan it. Now, mind you, at this point, I didn't know Jazmine. I didn't know Elevate Phoenix. I hadn't met the Barbies, and I hadn't been brought into the world yet. So after 4 months of falling in love with Elevate Phoenix and having even more respect for Tom and the passion, because what Jazmine said is true, from people at the very top of the executive board, Tom Lehman, all the way down to the teacher mentors and everybody within the schools, it's hands-on. Everybody's sleeves are rolled up. Everybody is pitching in. So I'm happy to say that in the 4 months, we did not raise $250,000 in our first golf tournament, which, as you know, for any first annual golf tournament is hefty. We raised $640.
Wow.
So to know that we literally built something out of nothing, and after only 3 events, because of the momentum of, Tom being the engine that could behind all of us, plus the magic that Jazmine brings to the table, we've been able to, in just 3 events, raise over $2.2 million. And that is directly affecting these kids who, especially right now, are dealing with COVID, which is a whole other layer of obstacles for these kids. So during the years of our 2-day event, which typically is a celebrity fanfare of a exclusive gala celebration one night to a celebrity AM golf tournament at Phoenix Country Club, which Tom was amazing to help us get access to an exclusive, one of the most beloved properties in Phoenix. But also our event is the Sunday, Monday going into the Charles Schwab Cup Championship. So everybody's been blessed to play on a golf course that's under tour conditions, but it's also a golf course that was renovated and redesigned by Tom Lehman. So Tom really, his ego is checked at the door, and he just basically says, look, you need a golf course, here's a golf course. You need me to get some friends, and, here's Bernard Longer. And Bernard Longer has become a friend of Elevate Phoenix. So we're just really blessed, and not just this one event. As you mentioned earlier on, we've done a helicopter golf ball drop to raise additional funds for Elevate Phoenix. In the springtime, there is Ann Myers-Drysdale, who is a NBA Hall of Fame, and she's the first female to ever be drafted to the NBA. Is also our beloved celebrity partner with Elevate Phoenix, and she has a big breakfast in the spring. So it's a lot of these celebrities saying, okay, well, if Tom Lehman and Ann Drysdale and Charles Barkley and Larry Fitzgerald and Bernard Longer and Blair O'Neill and all of these people have taken an interest in this event, I need to check it out. So it's been so exciting, and it truly is. It's the hardest working event in my entire career, hands down. But these are the single greatest, most sincere, most honorable, and hard-working people I have ever had the pleasure to work with. So even though it certainly has some long nights and early mornings, to be associated with this group and to get to know Tom on a whole nother level. And it's not just Tom, it's his amazing wife, Melissa. It's his selfless children. It's just the world he surrounds himself in. He definitely walks the walk. So it just, for these kids that, to meet somebody of any type of notoriety is kind of unheard of. But then to see Tom, sit down one-on-one with these kids who come from a very difficult background, a very different world than Tom. I didn't know I could become a bigger fan of a sports person in general. But Tom just, he just has the passion, and it's infectious.
Mm-hmm. I just want to mention a couple of others here. Some of the other celebrities that are going to be involved this year, of course, Condoleezza Rice, some other golfers, Peter Jacobson, and even Baker Finch, of course. But even some other celebrities, Hercules himself, Kevin Sorbo, and who doesn't?
He's one of our favorites. He's one of our favorites.
Yeah, I can understand why. I know. We won't go down that path. I know why.
It has nothing to do, Ted, that he's easy on the eyes. That has nothing to do with it. He is one of the most genuine, and just talk about an all-in, roll up his sleeves. He's like, do you guys need me to move golf carts? Do you need me to sling bags and load golf carts? Do you need me to go pass out scorecards? Like, he wanted to get involved the minute that his feet hit the pavement at Phoenix Country Club. He's very special.
Right, exactly. No, I agree with 100%. And even, you've got to give props where props are due. Bobby Herbeck, writer for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Absolutely.
If you got the Mutant Ninja Turtles involved, it's a worthy cause. So That's fantastic. So you got a great exactly. So you got a good crop of celebrities and from different areas of life, and which is great. So Jazmine, let me come back to you a little bit, because I want to, as I mentioned a couple times, I want to give you an opportunity. You know, we understand about the fundraising and so forth now, but let's put it in perspective, really what it's all about, and let's talk about the actual mission of the organization. Let's break it down a little bit. Where does this money go to? What's it doing to help? Let's get specific about it, and then we're going to talk about what's going to happen next week.
Absolutely. Ted, let me just give you just the overall, as short as possible overview of Elevate, right? So we are a nonprofit organization embedded in urban schools, and we partner with the most amazing district, with the Phoenix Union High School District, with an amazing leader, the superintendent, Dr. Chad Justin. And, you know, we get to teach an accredited elective class that's called Peer Leadership. So our kids get to learn things like life skills, leadership skills, character development. And we ask the counselors of the school to put kids in our class that are either, you know, a mixed bag of nuts, I like to say. You know, we got some that are natural-born leaders. Now, they may not be showing all their leadership skills for the positive, but nonetheless, they are leaders, all the way down to the last case ditch effort. If we do not help, it is just not going to happen for this kid. And so we get the kids that are dropping out at 52%. But by the time they go through our program, not only are they graduating as first-generational high school grads, but they graduate at 98%. And not only that, for them, that's a huge, you know, something to celebrate. But we say, you know, we can't stop there. What about continuing on and trying out college, right? We tell our kids, you can't tell me you don't like broccoli until you at least try it. So we tell our students the same thing. You can't tell me you don't like college until you at least try it out. And so we have them scholarships into a summer bridge college program called RISE. And there they earn 6 college credits and an opportunity to make a true life choice, to continue on, to go on to college, to go into the trades, to go into the military or workforce, or to go into workforce. And I tell you what, Ted, 100% of our kids have a post-secondary plan by the time they leave our program. And it all stemmed because a caring adult literally earned their right to be heard in their life as a mentor, because we started as a teacher. And what holds a whole lot different level of accountability with our kids is during the school day, when they have to show up to class just to get a grade, they actually get to go down to the feeder elementary school and teach what they are being taught. And I tell you, it changes the game when you're no longer just regurgitating a definition. Rather, you have to go in, teach a lesson, and show how it's applicable in your own life, and then be held accountable to what you're being taught. Because those kiddos, those elementary school kids, are looking at their high school leaders, first and foremost, in awe that they have a high school friend, but secondly, that they're teaching them these new life skills that they would have not ever even knew about, and not because this is something that they just told them a definition, but rather because they're showing it how it plays out in their everyday lives.
Yeah, and that's so, you know, education's so important. You know, I know as a kid growing up, you know, a lot of times we never really appreciated the value of our education until we got older and looked back and said, wow, you know, now I understand what that teacher really meant and when they were trying to express this. And sometimes, you know, we really overlook the importance of it. But more importantly, we don't realize that there are so many out there that don't have the benefit of a really good, solid education. So when you're putting this program together and you're opening that door and giving them the opportunity to learn skills and develop skills that are going to benefit them as they get older, and you know, they obviously appreciate it even more than some that maybe have been more fortunate than them earlier on, because to them it's an entirely new experience. For many growing
right.
up, you go through the routine of going to school, and grew up in an environment where you didn't have choice was always given to you. It was there, it was available. But when it's not, it's a whole different sort of kettle of fish. I want to also mention too. That this is 2020, of course, is the 4th annual event, which typically is a 2-day, as you put it, extravaganza, including a formal gala celebration and celebrity am golf tournament that takes place, of course, at the Phoenix Country Club. And this is obviously something that you would typically do in the past, but because of COVID, and Jill, I'm going to want to bring you in for this, because of COVID, some changes have had to be made, hence what we're going to talk about now coming up next week. So typically that's what the event would entail. This year you're doing something a little bit differently. Maybe you can unpack it a little bit and explain what's coming up next week.
Absolutely. Thank you. So the plan is, and I should say this first and foremost, we have every intention of getting back to business in the fall of 2021, getting back to Phoenix Country Club so we can have the 2 days and really get a captive in-person audience. And we always make sure that the kids are involved. Not only does it let them get face-to-face with people that are supporting them, but it also just kind of gives them, in some cases, some volunteer work experience to see, what it's like to be at a tournament, what it takes. And so it gives them some different learning opportunities. Because of COVID, because of our desire to make sure that everybody, from the students to the donors, to even, Jazmine and I, that everybody is safe. And the nice thing that we have is we had an option. So we're jumping on the virtual fundraising bandwagon. And fortunately, we are working with an incredible team that have been able to do successful events via live stream even before COVID happened. So on this Monday, November 2nd, at 6 p.m., and that's going to be Mountain Standard Time, we will be having a 1-hour virtual live stream hosted by our friend Tom Lehman. During this 1 hour, the viewers are going to be able to log on and watch the event. There's no charge, and basically sit back in the comfort and safety of their own homes, grab a snack, their favorite beverage, maybe even have a viewing party of a small gathering, and have a good time with us and interact with us online. We're going to have some incredible student success stories shared with all of the viewers. Tom has some also amazing speaking points. And then also we have, which has been going on since the 1st of October, our silent auction, which certainly I know we're going to get into that as well. But it's really going to be just a really special night, and we got an incredible opportunity brought to us today that we can't announce just yet, but there is one of the world's most favorite bands, and the original songwriter, one of the original band members, is going to be joining us. And so it's the only teaser I can give you at this very second. So we're going to have a really special. Is that good? All right, cool.
I want to know now.
I want to know. Wait a minute.
Who could it be?
It's going to be great. They're not going to want to miss this. It's going to be great.
No, definitely not. And it will be fun to be able to interact. You can text with us during, you tell Jazmine that you like her dress, whatever you want to do to have a good time with us. But really the stories that we're going to be sharing about, not just listen to a student's story or hear what Tom has to say or hear what some of the teacher mentors and some of the Elevate Phoenix staff and board members have to say, but because the organization's been around, it works. So I know for a fact that I have certainly donated money over the years to organizations, and you just hope that the money that you're giving, and especially this in the world we're living in right now, $1 means more than $1 to people these days. The nice thing is, if you are willing to part with that $1 right now, I can assure you it goes directly to a tangible activity, materials, direct support to these kids who, as you mentioned, with COVID, these kids already were facing an uphill battle. And now that uphill battle is, covered in barbed wire first. So for us to be able to still be able to do a fundraiser under the current world that we're living in, But all of the people that have donated to the auction, these incredible virtual phone calls and experiences and trips, amazing bottles of wine, everything you can think of, I can assure all of your listeners and you directly that every single nickel is being used, and it's using properly, and they're very fiscally responsible, but these kids will feel the generosity firsthand. So we are excited. Again, it's on Monday, November 2nd. It's 1 hour to just unplug from the election noise, take a breath, be inspired, have some entertainment by the world's greatest band that I will tell you about as soon as we're able to announce it. But truly, it's really going to be a chance for everybody to tune in. You just have to go to elevate2020.givesmart.com, and it will take you directly into the live stream broadcast. We're going to be broadcasting also on YouTube, Facebook, on elevatephoenix.org on their homepage that will take you directly to the live broadcast. And it's going to be live, Ted. So, at some point something entertaining is going to happen. Something's going to be interesting.
You know what, Ted? Jill made such a really good point. I wondered if I could quickly share just a quick story of just the impact about COVID.
Yes, please.
So, Jill made a point of, COVID really has changed our entire world and what that means to our kids. So I kind of shared with you about that summer bridge program where we had an amazing young lady who she graduated this last year from our school, and she was in the program, and COVID actually hit her entire family, where everybody in their household got COVID-19. Now, while the majority of them were able to get better and heal up, it is the unfortunate circumstance that her dad did not. And at a very, very young age, her dad being the primary breadwinner for their entire family had passed away because of COVID. He had no underlying issues, and out of nowhere, he got sick and everybody else was getting better, but he wasn't. They took him to the ER, and, families at that time was not even allowed to see their loved ones. She was not able to say goodbye. Right. She was not able to even bury her own father, let alone she's never even been to a funeral. So the first funeral that she had to attend was her own father's. And what made this so gut-wrenching was that her father worked for a very small company doing a labor type of job, and they knew what their family was going through, and they even offered to continue to pay his salary while he was in the hospital being sick. But after he passed away, obviously they could no longer give him the paycheck, but they did offer up a position to stay open if anybody in their family wanted to take on what he was doing, that they would give him that position. And our student not only was working her part-time job trying to go to school, but because she needed the help of the family, started doing a few hours what she could for that organization just to give back. And our teacher mentors came alongside of her, went to the funeral once they were finally able to retrieve the body and have a homegoing for her father, and still up to today are supporting, making the phone calls, showing up, trying to give gift cards, encouraging her to, continue on to do what her father wanted for her and their entire family this entire time. And that's just to have a future. And it's impacting all of us, but for some, that impact hits just a little harder. And our student is just one of the many that this is unfortunately not the only story like that, but it is a story nonetheless that we know, as tragic as it is, that we're really hoping and praying for true triumph to come out of it.
Well, and let me just first, say how truly, and I mean this sincerely, how sad, to hear that, but it just shows you the resilience of the human spirit, that even even through tragedy, your organization has given her the tools and education enough and the wherewithal to understand that she can now do her part and step up for her family and help out in whatever way. And that just goes to show you that, and really it's a testament to your organization that she's been able to benefit from a valuable education, and only goes to show the importance of giving back through organizations like yourself to the urban communities and others. And I just want to, again, we'll do it again before, we close off in a little bit, but just to give that website again, if you're interested, Monday, November the 2nd, that's this coming Monday, there will be a live virtual broadcast from 6 to 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can RSVP in advance and look over, and we'll talk about that now in a second, the incredible auction. Go to www.elevate2020.givesmart.com, and you can log in, and as Jill said, you can take part in a great virtual event. I think there's going to be a lot. They're not sharing the musical guest right now, but I know it's going to be good. I can first say it's not going to be me. I can assure you of that, because I can't sing and I can't play an instrument.
We've got a good verbal confirmation. As soon as we get that extra, we got it. You're in. We'll shout it from the rooftops. We'll send it to you. You can put it online. Again, it's one of those all-American bands. Everybody's going to want to see them. Everybody's going to want to hear them. And they certainly have a message just about hope and, just really during tough times, just sticking with it. And it's the most appropriate group that could be joining us during this tough world we're living in right now.
Absolutely.
Perfect. I just wanted to let the listeners know so they didn't freak out and panic. It's not me, so it's somebody I guarantee you much better than me. So Jill, let's just talk a little bit about. We have a little bit of time still here about the auction itself.
Yes.
What can we expect to see?
So one of the things that we decided to continue on in line of keeping things safe and, just trying to make things as convenient and easy for everybody, from the people that are donating to the people that are bidding. We have about 20 virtual experiences, meaning it's a Zoom call with some of the most incredible icons across the country, and some of them are going to be experiential as well. So, for example, at the top of our list, Condoleezza Rice, who has been an advocate and supporter of Elevate Phoenix for the last couple of years. You and 4 friends, it could be 4 friends, 4 colleagues, your family. Maybe you want to use it and do something special for your top clients, can call in and have a private 30-minute phone call with Condoleezza Rice. And you can discuss anything under the sun, whether you want to talk golf, you want to talk, gosh, no, she's a football fan. If you need to get into politics, I suppose you could. But certainly we're really excited about her involvement this year. Tom is going to be sitting in his backyard with fellow PGA Tour Champions player Michael Allen. They're going to be grilling steaks and shaking martinis and having a happy hour with them. Bernard Longer is going to be joining in as well, offering up another 30-minute call. He's going to talk to you about the mental side of golf, certainly ask questions about his 2 Masters titles, and as a bonus, the winning bidder is going to get a signed Masters flag from Bernhard shipped directly to your front door. But we've got not just golf. We've got Chicago Bears Jim McMahon. We've got NHL beloved favorite Shane Doan. And Yvonne Lendl, if you are a tennis great, Yvonne Lendl, who's got over 90 professional wins. He's, I think, our winningest Hall of Fame athlete with us this year. Rick Riley, I'll tell you what, Rick Riley for a 30-minute happy hour call, I can't even imagine what that conversation's going to be like. Blair O'Neill is going to be doing a 30-minute virtual golf lesson. So is top 50 instructor Stan Utley. You had mentioned Cowabunga, Bobby Herbeck, he actually decided to get a little wild and crazy, and you get to play golf with him. So you and two friends are going to join him at his home club here in Scottsdale and get a round of golf with him, a signed poster, and also you're going to get a signed copy of one of the original scripts of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie. And it's actually one of those where the storyboard is on one side and the script is on the other. There are not many. But as far as, our other items that are not virtual experiences, and again, there's incredible phone call opportunities with other Hall of Fame athletes, but we also have our two of our signature items include a signed basketball from the United States men's basketball team from the 2008 Olympics. There's only 300 of these signed basketballs in existence, and we have, I believe it's number 283. But on the basketball are signatures from the entire team, which includes Kobe Bryant. It includes the newly crowned Laker players, Dwight Howard and LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, local Jason Kidd. And this ball, as I said, it's there's not many of them, and they certainly won't be any more. So we're excited. There's a lot of buzz going on about this basketball. And then we also have, for those diehard golfers, we have a luxury golf vacation to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, staying at a 5,000 square foot lakeside residence. You will play Coeur d'Alene Resort with the famous floating green, Rock Creek Golf Club, and Black Rock Golf Club. It is a trip for 4 people, 7 days, 6 nights. And the cherry on the Sunday is on one of the days that you're not on the golf course, you will get a private boat ride around Coeur d'Alene Lake for half a day with a private captain. So that one is kind of blowing me away. I'm trying to gather up some friends that are willing to part with some funds and make an investment so we can go on an amazing golf trip. But, Tom has also put in his due. The Prairie Golf Club in Valentine, Nebraska, which is one of the most secret gems of the Midwest, including lodging for a group of 4, unlimited golf, 3 golf courses, including one that Tom designed. Cragen's Golf Club in Minnesota, the Omni Tucson. We've got some great golf stay and play packages. And you know what, Ted? We have lots and lots of amazing magnums of wine. So,
oh, wow.
There's plenty for everybody.
Let me give you my address, and you can ship one.
Oh yeah, we'll figure out how to get it to you, Ted.
Jill, you did not tell him about the awesome opportunity with Tom, and then actually getting to hang out with him for the BBB.
Oh yes, Ted. What she's referring to is the Backswings Beer and Burgers with Tom. So that is for you and a few friends get to join Tom for a round of golf at DC Ranch Country Club. And following play, you get to invite a friend, a significant other, a work colleague to join in for an evening on the patio at DC Ranch for some beers and burgers and some more conversation. Tom's amazing wife, Melissa, is going to be joining in because she doesn't want to be left out. She wants to get in on the fun.
No.
That is actually the bidding. We already have bids going. That one usually strikes up a nice little bidding war every year. But yeah, there's a lot for everybody. So even if you're not into golf, there's plenty. We've got computers and spa treatments. We've got some amazing artwork. So certainly we would love for people to go. Again, it's elevate2020.givesmart.com. And we certainly encourage people to join us on Monday, November 2nd, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We will be going over some of the highlight items during the broadcast, and you're able to bid on your phone. So, Ted, if we've got one item that's 3 magnums of wine, it's a nice trio of magnums package. So when you go in and you place your bid, if Jazmine outbids you, you'll get an alert on your phone, and you can bid right back.
I love it.
All right. We're up, Ted.
I love it. I love it. Game on. Well, ladies, I want to I want to thank you very much for coming on and sharing this. And again, I just want to remind everybody, for those of you maybe tuning in a little bit later on in the broadcast, that this coming Monday, November 2nd, if you want to break from everything that's been going on this last year, here's a great way to do it. It's a live virtual broadcast beginning at 6 p.m. Mountain Central Time. You can go to www.elevate2020.givesmart.com and join the fun. A lot of great opportunities there through the auction. A lot of great golf experiences and even non-golf experiences. And I see here there's an amazing $10,000 jewelry shopping spree to Melina Jewelers.
Yes, sir.
Ladies,
Ted, it's right before the holidays. Yeah. It's perfect.
That's right. So there you go. No excuses, guys. Get in there and make it happen. But ladies, again, I want to thank you very much for coming on. What a great story and what a great cause. And I wish nothing but success. And you let me know, if there's anything else that I can do between now and then to, promote on social media. I'm going to, obviously after the show, I'm going to put a post up there and I'll put that link on there and everything as well. But thank you guys so much. Yeah, Jazmine, what a great job.
Thank you so much, Ted.
Yeah, you and the organization, and tell Tom he's got to save me a burger and a beer.
Done. You got to get. Hey, listen, he's in Florida. He's right down the block from you right now. He's teeing it up next week or this weekend. So he's not too far away. Maybe you could share a burger with him right now.
Right, that might happen. That might happen. Ladies, thank you very much, Jill Strite and Jazmine Hall. Thank you very, very much for joining me this evening on Golf Talk Live. Much continued success, and I know it's going to be, again, for a worthy cause, and I look forward to hearing some good reports back on how everything went after next week. So keep up the great work. Jazmine, Jill, thank you as always, and feel free to reach out anytime if there's anything I can do to help you guys out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ted, so much. We'll be sure to let you know about the big band announcements to get you off the hook.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, ladies.
Have a good one.
Have a great evening, and thank you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, that was Jill Strite, owner of Versatile Golf, and Jazmine Hall, the development director of Elevate Phoenix. They've got their virtual event, happening Monday, November 2nd. It's a live virtual broadcast, and of course there's going to be an incredible auction, and it takes place for an hour beginning at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. You can RSVP in advance, but you can visit www.elevate2020.givesmart.com and join the fun. And also you can go to elevatephoenix.org if you want to learn more about Elevate Phoenix in general. You can go and check out their website, and there are other ways that you can help out as well. So on that note, I want to thank everybody. Once again, thanks to the guys earlier on Coach's Corner, John Hughes and Clint Wright. Thanks, guys, for always bringing your best. And I will see everybody next week on Golf Talk Live. God bless everybody. Thanks again for joining me. Thanks for listening to this evening's broadcast of Golf Talk Live. Remember to tune in each week at blogtalkradio.com/Golf Talk Live. If you can't join us live, check out the on-demand section for previously aired broadcasts, or listen on any of the following social media platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, TalkStream Live, and of course, Spotify. To get updates on future shows and upcoming guests, be sure to visit the show's Facebook page, Golf Talk Live Blog. You can also follow me on Twitter at Ted and Buck CEO. Remember to join me live each week for another great broadcast of Golf Talk Live. See you next time. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.